Okay, and let me just introduce that we have our master's level finishing up student, Mark, is he here? And we have a math from Tesla program. Is that the teacher education?
No,
technology and
technology
education, and second language acquisition. And we have, who are you? We have Elena, and then doctoral students, right? And we have Faz, okay, Faz from the elementary education. And Faz is interested in writing a paper and dissertation about the flipped classroom learning approach in the elementary education. And we have in the back there, wow, it's quite far from here, but I'm not sure if you guys can see them. We have Eraldine and Hurio, the back there. And Maria just came in.
Okay.
And Aura is our ITSA president, right there.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's, yeah, that's everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Hey, Maria, it's been a while. Okay, so let me tell you about this conference. Well, there are three. I was just speaking with some of the folks in here. There are three major conferences that you should be interested in, especially if you're in the graduate program, whether you're in the master's level or the doctoral level. The first conference is AERA, that's an American Educational Research Association, right? Yeah, yes. And they usually have a due date in the mid July, and the conference. So in this coming April, there will be a AERA conference in San Antonio, Texas. So if that's something that you're interested in, because that conference is usually about the most of the educational research and general educational topics. So it's not like we will be the only people there as an instructional technology folks. There will be educational administration, educational philosophy, and many different types of different aspects of education will present there. And the second, the conference that I want you to keep in mind is the AECT, which is what we are here today, and which is what I am going to speak about. And that's an Association of Educational Communication and Technology. If you have taken my class, Current Trends in Instructional Technology, you probably know the definition of the instructional technology or learning technology. Because the AECT is the organization, and they define and they provide the definition of instructional technology. So it's one of the leading organizations within our field, and you definitely want to apply to submit your conference proposal and have the at least once or twice of opportunities to present yourself and what you have done so far. And the last, the group of conference. I say the group because it's one organization, but they have multiple conferences under the organization, and that's AACE. You can just Google AAC, then you'll find that there are three different types of conferences. The first one is SITE, and second is ED Media. I think the last one is eLearn. So within those three professional associations, you have an option to attend and present in 5 different types of conferences. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you why is it important to make a presentation, because I know that some of you might have heard about the associations, but you are still not quite confident or do not understand why you have to make a presentations there. And the reasons, I have 2 reasons for that. The first reason is for the program. When you go out, attend, and make a presentation at one of those professional organizations, then you are showing that the USF has a strong instructional technology program, right? So that's a good thing, because then other universities and the graduate students from other universities will want to know more about our program, and they'll be interested in what we're doing. So it's a good thing. That's a benefit because you are promoting our program to the other universities and the graduate students across the nation. And the second reason is for yourself. It's the graduate program, right? And I was just speaking to Mark in here, where you become a teacher to teach, right? And you open up the store because you want to sell the product. And you come to the graduate school because you want to do research, right? And what's the best way to share your research findings and your research ideas? That's through the conferences. So that's why you want to do it. And whatever you have done, and any kind of research activities that you have completed, that you want to share that. And it's a best way to disseminate your research agenda, your research interest, and your research findings to other folks from other universities within the field of instructional technology. Okay, and well, let's move our topic a little bit a different direction. So for the AECT, again, that's an Association of Educational, Communication, and Technology, right? They have this annual conference, usually due February the 15th, but this time they made it a little early, so it's going to be due in February the 6th. So we have about 3 weeks of time left, which I think would be a good time, enough time to develop your conference proposal. And the actual conference will be held in Jacksonville in Florida, which is a good thing for us because we don't have to fly to a different city. We can save some money. And you guys maybe consider coupling together. It's going to be November, I think the early week of November. So if you submit the proposal by February, or the review process will be completed by June, at least by May, and you will hear their decisions whether your proposal has been accepted or not, at least by end of May, and then you can make a plan to attend the conference. So even if your proposal was not accepted, you don't have to be discouraged because that happens oftentimes. And there could be many different reasons. I think I shared 2 links with you, and the first link was about the AECT website, and the second link, I believe, no, the first link was about the past conferences and the PDF file, the collection of PDF files for the past conference programs. And the second link was about the guidelines, how to submit, how to develop your conference proposal for this coming AECT conference. So for the details, you may want to take a look those guidelines, because I think there are about 16 different guidelines that you can consider. Just go through. It's not that much. Just go through. Try to make the best understanding of what they are trying to look for, and make sure that you follow their guidelines, and make sure that you have something you want to share with other folks. There were one guideline that would be really important. I think it was the second from the last one. It's about that you have to have a data. And now you may wonder, okay, you may think that, well, I'm writing my proposal, and the proposal means that I want to propose something to do, right? Well, that's going to be a research proposal. When you write a research proposal for your education research class or for your dissertation, then you say that, well, I have a research questions, and this is how I want to approach to answer to my research questions based upon such methodology. The conference proposal will be a little different, because now, based upon the study that you have done already, or based upon some type of data that you have collected already, you are proposing that these things are what I want to share with others. That means that you should have something to share with others already. You cannot just propose that this is what I want to do, and these are the data I want to collect. You should say that I have collected such data based upon your research questions, and I would like to share this at the conference with other colleagues and friends. Sure.
I can leave this like this here if you want to, kind of, because I know it seems like you're talking to the screen. But if any of these, it still shows you, even if you're
okay. Well, yeah. So far, any questions? Because I don't want to make a lecture in here, and most of the information you can find from the website. And the reason of hosting this workshop is actually to have more individualized the guideline. Was there anything else? I think that's good for the starter. So why don't you share what you think? Well, if you have any research, well, let me ask you this: how many of you have submitted your conference proposal before? It's gonna be anonymous because I'll be the only one. So we have 2, including any kind of competition proposal. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Out of 9, we have 5 students who have submitted the conference proposals previously, which is a good thing. That's more than 50%, right?
We have online it says, how do we collect data as a student by ourselves? We need an IRB approval, right? Because you mentioned you need data.
Right.
But if you're just doing something you're interested in, how do you collect that data if it's just you, like if you're not doing it with your professor?
Well, how to collect the data? You make a plan, you go out, you collect the data. That's the simple question. And if you are dealing with any human subject, then you have to submit the IRB first and get the approval. So as you can see, this conducting a research, because the conference proposal should be based upon your research, right? Whether you collaborate with other colleagues, whether you collaborate with one of the faculty members or many of the faculty members, or if you work at some type of center, right? You probably have some kind of outcomes to share with others. So those are the good things to share with others with good justification why those data are important. If you are just working on yourself, it might take a while because you have to come up with your own research questions and you have to find the literature, good literature to support why your research questions are important, right? And also, as I said, if that involves some type of human participant, you have to go through the IRB, which could take at least a month of time, depending upon the group of the human participants you're working with. So question, and the answer for the question will be, you just have to make a plan ahead. And I strongly suggest you to work with other folks. There are some good things about you working by yourself, but the downside of that is that it takes so long. You want to work with others first, whether that's your faculty member or if that's your, the peers, classmates. Try to find someone who share the same research interest and who can have make a presentation and proposal together. So that will be my answer. If you still want to do your research by yourself, that's fine. That's fine too. But just remember that it might take a little while.
Okay. Another question is, it doesn't have to just be research, because I know at some of the conferences I've seen people presenting literature reviews.
Yeah,
so.
Right. There is a difference between the literature review and the research summary. And most of the time, we confuse summary as a literature review. So if you want to submit a literature review piece as a conference proposal, you should be really targeted about the emerging topic that you're interested in. Not just a summary of who said this, who said that, so this is what I think. That's not gonna work. And well, to be honest with you, the reviewers, because they are the ones who will make a decision whether to accept your proposal or not, right? So the reviewers will be, the group of reviewers will be best. I mean, they're from all different universities. Some of them my doctoral students, some of them my just a master's students, and some of them will be faculty members. So depending upon which reviewer is assigned to review your conference proposal, the decision could be different. It could be accepted in some way, or it could not be accepted for other reviewers. If you write a really good literature review piece, which could be included as part of your dissertation, I think that's going to be a good thing to submit as a conference proposal. But as one of the guidelines says on the ACT website, they are looking for something tangible. Even if it's a literature review, you have to have some kind of implications. What's the meaning of the literature review? Why is it important to review such literature? And what are the implications for that? So you can report not just the literature review part, but also some suggestions and implications, what we, the participants, attendees can do with what you found from your literature review. Matt, you want to share something about, because I remember that the site conference proposal, there was a literature review piece, or did it include any type of data when you submit for the site?
No, and that was probably the reason that it wasn't accepted in retrospect.
Could you tell us about that a little bit more, if you don't mind?
I'm trying to recall. It was
Okay.
last year.
Right.
Yeah. Although there was no specific requirement that there be data associated with your proposal, I'm sure they prefer those that had data.
Right.
And what I had submitted was basically a literature review piece. So I don't know what went through their minds, but I suspect that was part of the issue.
Okay. Yeah.
Was there any feedback from the reviewers? Like, did you see any?
No, I don't recall any feedback specifically from site, which is the one that I applied to.
Right, because Matt submitted a conference proposal to the site. That's one of the conferences under the umbrella of AACE, not ACT. So think yourself as a reviewer. If you're reviewing somebody else's conference proposal, and if you see that, oh, this presenter proposed that he or she has collected a tangible data, and that's what she wants to share, versus someone said, I have read these articles and this is literature, and these are the findings that I found. These are the findings from the literature review process. So which one you think would be likely to be accepted for the conference proposal? So think yourself as a reviewer and develop, create your proposal accordingly. I think that's gonna be, I think that was a good question.
And I had a question.
Sure.
Is there anyone here for the first time you're thinking about submitting for AECT or any upcoming? Okay. What advice, like, as far as working with faculty or with other students, like what should be the first steps to get ready for that?
That is going to be, that's going to be a really important question. Because we've been saying that conference proposal is about sharing, right? What you have done with other colleagues and peers from other universities. So that will be the first thing you think about when you are planning to develop your conference proposal. What I can share, what can I share with others, right? And that could be something that you develop from your class. Even if there was just a pilot study, because usually I don't think the pilot study requires, unless it's a dissertation process. The course activities, the class assignments, they do not require the IRB approval. So if you have something that you have done for the course or the courses that you have taken, then this is gonna be a good thing that you wanna share. Then that's your starting point. If you have developed some kind of multimedia learning program or the game, right? Or some type of system that can support student learning needs or performance needs. And those are the things that you want to consider submitting as a topic for your conference proposal. And as Aura just mentioned, research is one type of the categories you can submit. If there's a product and there is a design and development showcase, so it doesn't actually have to be a research, which means that it doesn't actually have to have some kind of supporting data. You can share the product that you have designed and developed, and you submit that to the design and development showcase. And by the way, there are multiple divisions, like a sub-SIGs, special interest groups in the ACT, and design and development is one of them.
So can we kind of go around and get an idea of what?
Yeah, that's the main reason that we are here today. So folks out there, what we're going to do now is that we're just going to have an individual interaction with folks who is physically in here, so that we can have some better idea what kind of things that we can present and how we can make it to be more successful conference proposal.
Yeah, and I did send out a link through BullSync if you guys got it. And it has AECT proposal. Let me say this. It has, and that's also to you, AECT proposal information, what they're looking for, the different types of things you can do. And we'll have Eraldine come up a little later, because it doesn't have to be necessarily a paper or talk. You can also submit to do a poster session, which is another good way. There's also roundtables, and that's in the link as well. Like there's different formats for presenting. You might get together with a group of other students, and the 4 of you can do a symposium, which we've done with Dr. Lowe. There've been like 5 of us, and we all had like 15 minutes each. So that's in the link that I have sent.
Speaking of that, just one tip that I have experienced based upon my, 10 years ago when I was a doctoral student. If you plan to submit as a poster, try to submit as a roundtable. Because if so, then they will think about, they'll review your proposal, and if they consider that will be better fit with the poster, and they can change that to poster. If you just select a poster, and if they do not much positive about your conference, then it is very likely they will be rejected. So go for the, I'm not saying that there is a rank, which is always a good thing to try to concurrent first, and the roundtable and poster. Okay, so it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces here today. So anyone is planning to submit a conference proposal? And do you have anything that you have in your mind, what that would be? I'm just asking about the topic. Okay, Araldine?
I'm trying to submit one. I don't know what review I did.
Okay.
And I want to kind of look at it as part of the journey towards my dissertation.
Okay.
So it's more of not just only presenting what I covered in the review, but the whole process of doing it. Perhaps
Right.
Is what my proposal would be, what the process of writing your lit review is, and the different approaches that you can take to
Sure.
coding and stuff.
Right.
It's more on the process than the actual product
Right.
that I want to write.
Good. Yeah, as I said earlier, literature review can be submitted as a conference proposal, and usually, because that's a review of the previous studies, your length of the proposal the conference proposal will be like long. So try to make sure that you meet your required number of words. I think it was about 750 and 1,000 words. I think that's the maximum. I'm saying this, I'm telling you this because once I submitted a proposal with like a 2,500 words, thinking that, oh, it's such a long proposal, which means such a good, right? Well, I was just kind of naive. So it should be accepted, and it was not accepted when I was in the doctoral program because the length was not what they required. So that was the comment. It does not meet the submission requirements, and they didn't even care to look at my proposal. So try not to make such mistake. I'm not saying that you will make that mistake. I'm just saying generally, right?
Yeah, but how do you find out what the requirements are? I mean, it sounds like you didn't know what the requirements were. You didn't meet them, right?
Right. Yeah, because I did not read the guideline carefully. And now that's your opportunity because they have set up like, I think it was 15 or 16 different guidelines. As I said, they're not long, so make sure that you just review. It's gonna be just once, like 5 years, because I don't think they change the guidelines that oftentimes. So try to read the guidelines first.
Yeah.
And make sure that your proposal meets the guideline, the required number, and even you can use some basic HTML coding, because what's going to happen when you submit your conference proposal is that it's going to be just one word, a bunch of text. So there'll be no line, no breaking line, and there's no empty line. So you can use like the basic coding like BR to make a space, or you can put the P to make the paragraph, so they can have a more aesthetically nice, visually nice, the layout, and then content, right?
Yeah, and I sent a link. Like there is a page. It says all of the guidelines. It says how many words for the abstract, how many for the whole thing. And I know I've written one with Dr. Lowe, and when we go back and do the counts, it's like 1 word over. She's like, fix it. So I guess depending on what conference, let me see. depending on what conference you're presenting to, I think they're all pretty sticklers. And if they say it's 11:59, submit it like the day before, because I'm probably sure hundreds of other people are
Yeah.
submitting at that same time, and it might freeze up. And that actually just happened to us, I think, like in December. Like we were right down, and then we hit it, and it was like, sorry, the deadline is passed. We were like, our weeks of work, no. So, flashback. So, yeah, it's best to, like, they really are sticklers, and
Yes.
I guess
That-
their
that's a good
time is
point.
valuable, so they don't want to be accepting all these people.
Yeah, I
after
think the
fact.
system, the submission system will shut off automatically once it passed 1 second of the due date and the time. As a beginning graduate students who have never submitted, who has no prior experience in submitting a conference proposal or developing a conference proposal, I provided one link that has a list of the past conferences, and you can find the PDF files from the year 2016, 2015. I think it's back to like 2004 or somewhere there. And you can check the PDF files and see what topics have been presented and who has presented which type of research. Because you'll find like multiple hundred of different presentations, and you can see the title, presenter, and a short abstract of each presentation. So that will give you some idea. Oh, somebody presented about this topic. So this is the presentable topic, I see. And somebody presented this as a roundtable. So there might be something that I can present as a roundtable. So while you are reviewing past conference program books, you can try to match up what you have done, right? And see if the things that you have done could be developed as a possible conference proposal.
Okay.
So there'll be a good resources to take a look.
And we have a question. Do you have any tips specific to AERA proposals? That's the big one.
Yeah, I had the same experience with the AERA as well. The difference between the AERA, as some of you know already, and ACT is that AERA is mostly about education in general, right? So the number of participants is huge, and they usually book like more than 10, like 12 hotels to accommodate all of the the participants and attendees. Versus the ACT is only for our field, for the instructional technology only. They have different 6 special interest groups, but they have a fewer number of the blocks, the schedule blocks that they can use compared to the ACT, because ACT you can have a couple of hundred different presentations, but for the SIG and the AERA, you have a less number of the slots that you can do, which means that the proposal submission and the reviewing process will be more competitive, which means that your proposal will be more likely to be rejected just because of that competition. So it's extremely important that you follow the guidelines again, because they have a different guidelines and different SIGs. When I say it's a special interest group. Well, I'm serving as a chair for the treasurer, although I don't have that much money. But for the one of the SIGs, the internet applications in education. So we have not many slots. I think we have about like 15 slots. So if you are interested in submitting your proposal for the AERA for the particular SIG, then just remember that the competition will be a little more challenging than the ACT. So follow the guidelines. Make sure that your proposal is less than, I think it was a 2,000 word, because I submitted another proposal. It was after I was done I'm done with my doctoral program. I submitted one that was more than 2,000 word, and it was rejected because of that reason. And also finding the right SIG will be very important. I'm not sure at this time how many SIGs are available and how many SIGs are accepting the conference proposals. from the IT field. But you can check that. You can just go to Google AERA, and you may want to say technology. Then you can find a list of the 6 that covers instructional technology as one of their themes. So those are the 6 that you can submit your conference proposals.
I want to say if we can kind of switch it up to hear from, oh, I keep forgetting this. We're going to kind of switch it up right now so we can hear from some of our graduate students who have written proposals and have presented at some of the conferences. So we're going to give them a few minutes to share their experiences. And I guess
Why don't you start first?
we'll start with me. Okay, and I'm talking to you, but I'm also talking to you. Okay, so my name is Aura Tanner, and this is my, 4th year in the PhD program. So I actually was fortunate enough to work with Dr. Lowe from my first semester writing proposals. So I think they were in the middle of a project, and they were, I think they do all theirs together. So they were just back-to-back proposals, and she's like, do you want to help write one of these? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Okay, sure, yeah. I believe it was AECT, and it was in Jacksonville. That was in 2014. So I kind of just worked alongside her, and she showed me how to do the abstract, and then I kind of wrote it, gave it to her. She gave me feedback. And she's telling me this is what they're looking for. You have to be succinct, you know, the specific things they look in an abstract. And then we got to the longer piece. She kind of chunked out, in the first paragraph, you're addressing these specific things. Second paragraph, this, that, and all those things. So she's a really great resource. If you just want to go to her, even if she's not your major professor, I would encourage you to send your draft to her. And so I think that one we were doing as I think it was like all of them, poster, roundtable, and the sessions. So going to the conference was interesting. You know, I'm very nervous, and I'm like, okay, you see people from Purdue and Harvard and, you know, all these top universities, and you're thinking, no, I'm just from USF, you know, which you shouldn't think that, because we rock and we're awesome. In the poster session, people are just coming up to you and asking you questions like they really are interested in your research. And so you need to be able to give the answers. So it was a really good experience, being able to articulate succinctly, you know, exactly what we're doing. And so since then, I wrote proposals for SITE, which was accepted, and we presented in Savannah last year. So each conference has its own different kind of feel. So that one was more international, like there were more people from other countries and all around the world at that one. I'm really into science education, so I submitted one to the Association for Science Teacher Education, and that's the professors who actually train science teachers. And that was in Portland, Oregon. So once again, a totally different audience that I had to craft mine to. We just went to Las Vegas, a group of us, for AECT. So I just think, yes, and you'll hear from them. So we had one of our teams that went to the finals for the design and development competition. But my advice just to all of you, especially for the first time, would be just to practice and work with your professor or faculty. The more you do it, the better you'll get. And as Dr. Park pointed out, I really did go in and read all the other proposals that were accepted, because it seems like there's a higher concentration at certain universities that tend to get accepted. In my eyes, you know, like, hey, all the people from Indiana University, there seems to be like 30 of their students got accepted, you know. So just reading those proposals, and it's once you get the proposal accepted, then you have to look at the presentation part. So I'm like not good with speaking in front of groups. Like, no, don't look. But you have to think about that part too. Like, hey, if it does get accepted, you're gonna have to present it. So you need to work on your presentation skills as well. But I think we have a really good program. I think whatever you're working on is worth sharing and other people knowing about. So that's what I have to say. And it gives you a chance to travel. And let me say this, the student government has conference proposal grants. So if you do get accepted, you pay on the front end, but they will reimburse you up to $500 to go and present at conferences. So you don't have to just, and if you play your cards right, actually you can have them pay for everything, but they'll reimburse you afterwards. So now we're going to hear from Elena. Do you want to share about being at, if you could put this over there. Okay, let me see. Elena's going to share about being in the design and development competition from afar.
Just hold a second. Yeah, we plan to have another session for us to get ready for the this year's design and development competition, which I think the first proposal will be due in sometime in April, right? Like last year. So we're gonna have a session for that as well as a separate one in the future. So look for the announcement from Aura.
Okay.
So because of that, I probably will not get too much into the whole
Yeah.
explanation of the
Give them a preview.
But I think what my realization was throughout this whole process and going to the conference is how strong of a program we are. And, you know, just writing the proposal and realizing that whatever I learned in classes is being applied there, and then going to the conference and seeing our people present and hearing what others have to say. I think we're a very strong group, and we should definitely go for more conferences and put ourselves out there. Yeah, but the yeah, I guess we'll talk about the design competition maybe at a later time.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Let me just say, to recap, if you couldn't hear her, because it was kind of hard, she says she believes we have a very strong program, you know, based on seeing what others are presenting and seeing our people present. Geraldine, or have you presented at?
I have.
Okay. Do you
I
know?
can share a little bit.
Okay.
I sent several proposals out, and one was actually accepted.
Okay.
A year and a half ago, I presented at the Curriculum and Pedagogy Conference in Cleveland.
Okay.
But in terms of experience about writing the proposal itself, there's something I did want to mention. Because I believe the AERA, and I haven't sent a proposal to them, I think they require the entire product to be submitted, not just, when I think of a proposal, I think of 300 words, 500 words, whatever. And then a short blurb, which can range anywhere from 30 to 100 words, which is basically the abstract that goes into the program. But I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that AERA requires that it all be written ahead of time and submitted. I'm not sure if that's correct or
Which
not.
one?
Yes. Because
Okay.
I just.
Okay.
submitted.
I've never done that for AERA, so I can't really speak to that. But in terms of writing a proposal, if it's 300 words, you have to be very careful about the economy of the words that you're writing. You don't want to be overly wordy, but at the same time, you want to give enough information to get the reviewers interested about your topic. So that's what I would have to contribute about writing it. And it really helps to have, even if you're a really good writer, to have at least one other person look at it who's objective, just to get another set of eyes to look at it. And that's what I would contribute.
Good point.
But you're absolutely correct. Definitely read the guidelines first, because they need to they need to reject some. So if you don't follow the guidelines to the letter, you give them a reason to reject yours. It makes the pool smaller and it makes their job easier. So read everything first. That's it.
I'm gonna move this down to Geraldine and talk to them as well. I just don't want it to seem
Okay.
like they're watching you talk to a
Um,
screen.
You got the shuffle side.
I think I had a very busy year last year, but my submissions were all posters. We did a total of, I say we because there were group submissions, some of them. So I had a total of 6 poster submissions that were accepted, and we presented at 6 conferences. I think what makes it work is, especially when you're working in a team, is ensuring that everybody's on board. And when you're preparing the proposal, you do that using some kind of collaborative tool. So I think we used Google Doc, and Google Doc really worked for us. And then we ended up, as Matt said, getting someone else with a neutral eye to look at it before we sent it in. Again, I can't overemphasize the importance of the guidelines. For example, what the last conference we submitted to spoke about removing identities from your application. So and I remember when we submitted for the design competition, one of the feedback we got was that there was something in there that caused them to be able to know where the application came from. And both of us looked at it and we didn't see it. So it's good to have somebody else look at it because that really gives them an opportunity to throw you out before giving you a chance to see whether or not you're making sense. So yeah, the poster, I think what I kept hearing was that if you are new and you're not so sure or you're skeptical about whether or not they'll accept you, is to attempt a poster first. And so, because more than likely, there's a high competition for the workshop sessions and the presentation sessions. So if you're new and you just want to wet your feet, it's a good way to start conference presentations by going in with a poster presentation. It's not so much that your research is of less quality, but you also might have a higher chance of getting accepted because of that particular route. And when you are presenting at conferences, you do have the opportunity to share your work because people come to the poster and they ask you questions and you can share what you have. And for some conferences, they actually judge the poster submissions. And so that gives you even further opportunity to share your work. So that's an option I would recommend that you try. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just nothing related to what Eldon just said, but I just remembered the worst case of the presentation that I have ever seen in my entire academic life, which like 15 years, I guess. This particular presentation, it was a roundtable session. I'm not gonna tell who was the presenter and which university he or she came from. I'm saying that was the worst, I think, based upon my judgment. I think that was the worst presentation because what she brought was that she brought a commercial product, right? And basically she was explaining how that product works, right? And it has nothing to do with the research. It has nothing to do with the any design or development. It was just a pure product, just fresh from the out of box. And she was just explaining what it can do and how it can be used in the classroom. I'm saying that was the worst because if she wanted to present about some kind of product, then she should set up some kind of guidelines. Okay, these are based upon, you learned about the learning theory and the instructional design theories. So in order to improve student learning or the motivation or engagement, these are some of the guidelines suggested by, the previous research review. And based upon this, we can create some kind of prototype to best present those guidelines, right? To best reflect those guidelines. If she approached it that way, then she probably have come up with some kind of the prototyping, even if it's not the complete project, complete product. It could be some kind of prototype or the idea, and that would work a lot better than just bringing a commercial product and saying that this can be used in this way or that way. So it's just my maybe I'm biased, but as an instructional technology, someone working in the instructional technology, we should start with our original idea, the ideas that we think would work. Even if that's about the product, like Aura and Errolden did, if that was about the game, we should start designing games instead of using, the commercial games. If that piece was not the design and development, if that was the research, it's okay to use, some available games already. But if there was the design and development, then it should be design and development. So just wanted to share. I'm not saying that any one of you will do this thing here, but that was the worst. I think the worst presentation.
Okay, so we're gonna spend the last 13 minutes. We want to hear from you and what you're thinking of doing. Hopefully we get a lot of people for the AECT, but was Mark, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
This is all new process to me. And I'm excited and I'm frustrated because from my understanding, there are different types of presentations that can be given. Just like a poster, a product, and a proposal. That's just 3 I've heard here. And I would like more information on those. So if I was going to do a presentation, I would know where to best present it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And those are the 3 I've heard. I don't know if there are any other, but are there some guidelines or is there something out there that will tell me, what type of presentations are to be given, I guess?
Yes, on the links that I sent out, like I sent an email and I was putting them in the chat, but it says types of sessions. And so it has concurrent sessions, panels. They have this new thing called impact talks, fee-based workshops, poster roundtable. So when you go to submit, well, you'll read all the descriptions for what each one of those are. And when you submit your proposal, you check off the type of session you think you want to give. Sometimes they might change it. Like I submitted to AERA for a poster because I'm like, it's ARA, the big one. So maybe I'll be able to get in with a poster. But they actually changed it to a concurrent session, which is like 20 to 30 minutes. But I sent out the links and it tells you the different types and what's required for each one. So they do tell you the different formats.
Okay.
So for example, the concurrent one is basically you stand up in front of your audience and make an oral presentation. Usually your presentation will be paired with the other presentation that shares the same research topic or the research ideas. So you have about 25 minutes to present and 5 minutes of question and answers.
Yeah, for AECT, they have 20, 30, and 60-minute
20, 30,
sessions.
okay.
So
those are sessions, but like I said, I'm still not quite sure what the difference between poster, product, and proposal. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because I'm hearing different things.
but
This is for the summary proposal, I understand, but I've heard you guys both speak about poster and product, and so this is...
So 3 different types of presentation. One, concurrent, right? Standing up, oral presentation. The second, round table. You sit around the round table and you discuss a topic with the attendees, participants. Poster, you will have like a blackboard. You have use the whiteboard or the blackboard, and you prepare your own poster. And the poster session will held in one huge room. So there will be another poster sessions going on at the same time. And you will be one of them.
Yeah.
So these are all different competitions?
Different categories of the presentation.
And the proposal is what you're submitting so that you'll be able to present at the conference. And so the product part is what you're describing. Like he said, someone brought a product. Like I've never seen anyone bring a product to a session. But normally the proposal is, hey, this is my research. This is what I want to share. And they either accept and reject it. If they accept it, then you get to do a poster, a roundtable, a concurrent session. And the product, I don't know where that comes in because I've never seen anyone
that was a
bring a product.
Yeah.
But normally you're talking and presenting, and you normally have
commercial product.
yeah, pictures or images. Some people bring a laptop. But yeah, the proposal is so you can get into the conference.
I can suggest that if you are thinking about attending the AECT conference in this coming November, then whether you intend to submit your proposal or not, and whether your proposal is accepted or not, you may want to consider participating there, because first region is close from here. You can drive. The second region, you will learn a lot when you're actually there, and meet other folks from other universities and see their presentations, and they will clear up many of the confusion, the unclear ideas that you might have now just by attending the conference. I think that's going to be the first step.
Okay. So are you going to be submitting? Yes, no?
You should probably move on.
I asked him
have,
to stay
Okay.
here.
I don't
Okay.
have data for this.
Okay, Maria, you plan on submitting?
Have voice, so I can talk. That's why I'm using this app. However,
Oh.
I don't really have the idea. So eventually, thank you.
Okay. So she said she can't talk, so she's using an app. That's cool. What app
Using
is that?
technology.
Okay.
So how many of you have an idea that what do you wanna submit as your
Okay.
proposal topic at this time?
And I'm sorry, what's your name? I haven't met you. Chantel. Oh, okay.
I just came here for an information session just to find out more.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you willing to attend the conference maybe in this November?
Yeah, I am. I would be willing to say that it is close.
Because I still remember the first time when I attended ACT, that was back in 2002. That's when the World Cup, was happening. It was in Dallas, Texas, I think. And the first presentation that I made was a roundtable. I was so nervous, and was my kind of the first. It was not the first one, but the first experience attending and presenting at the international conference. So that morning and the night before the morning, I couldn't sleep at all. I was so nervous. I think I was more nervous than you guys probably would. So, but it was fun though. I mean, once you attend, once you see how it goes, then you get some idea, and you know how you can prepare for that, right?
She is like, no.
I was so nervous. And then my boss texted me and she's like, how's it going? And I said, I'm so nervous. She goes, I know, we could feel the shaking all the way in Florida. I guess I shake a lot.
But she did a wonderful job, and I was there, and I'm the living evidence, the proof that she did a really great job. And we
Yeah.
want to continue our tradition in that way. I just want to mention, if you don't mind, you probably, when you look at the previous conference program books, you probably will notice that a certain universities, they have many conference proposals. It's not because of they are not listening to this, but it's not because they have a strong program than us. It's because they have their culture. So in that program, graduate students, they have this culture that they can, maybe they work together, or maybe they want to internally, they compete each other to submit more proposals. I don't think we have that formed here yet at USF, but that's something that we want to continue to develop, as a culture of the academic community. So I hope you guys can join and think seriously about that and join us for that effort.
Yeah. And just to add to what Dr. Park is saying and what Elena said earlier, when you go out to the conferences, you do realize that we do have a very strong program, like the things we're learning here. I think we learn them on a more granular and more detailed level than some of the other programs. And when you see the types of research that our students are doing, I think we're doing phenomenal things. But also, I know a lot of people in our program want to be professors or work in higher education. And so going to these conferences and writing the proposals leads to publications. So that can also help your career in that way by getting out. And also, you never know who you could connect with and network with. But to at least one academic conference during your master's or PhD program. And then like Dr. Park said, going there, it does change your mind. Because in my mind, I was just kind of like, what's the big deal about these conferences? It's like, it's a conference, what's the big deal? But once you get there, you see that this research is actually making an impact on education. And so then you realize like, hey, you might think it's your little class project, but if you keep developing that project, one day it could actually have an impact.
Yeah.
So
And the first experience is always difficult. That's always challenging. Whatever you do, the first experience is always hard to do. Once you pass the first experience, rest of them is piece of cake. You will realize that. Once you attend once your proposal is accepted once, the first time, once you make have the presentation experience, just once, the first time, you will eventually enjoy the process, and you will consider, oh, I have this paper, this idea, will that be acceptable or not with this huge community of instructional technology? And you want to test it. You want to test your idea against your colleagues and peers and other professionals from other universities. And when your idea is accepted, then you have that feeling of the high level of satisfaction, and you wanna achieve more. You wanna do the same experience again. So you will probably be addicted to the process once you pass the first experience.
Okay. I think
Dr.
that's.
Park, can I throw something out?
Sure.
Yes.
I've recently was in a class with Dr. Hatton,
Mhm.
and he's developed a site called
Yeah.
upload-download.info, and he's trying to build a community, and I think that would go a long ways as far as building our community, in these programs,
Yeah.
instructional technology.
Right.
So I thought it was great. It's called upload-download.info, and basically it's for people who are in instructional technology, and it's a community based. It's like Facebook. So
Yeah.
I was impressed by it. I think it's something that we were missing,
Mhm.
and that would be a great way to build community. And if there's something else like that, but
It's a social network functions embedded.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he will make it public or not.
Well, I thought he made it public because in class
yeah.
he had us all go online and.
Yeah, well, to me, he said that it's going to be only for the classes now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I spoke too soon. But I was really impressed with it.
No,
I was
I'm
really
just
impressed with it.
Yeah.
And to be able to have, because what we're talking about is that there's some proposals I'm interested in, and it's difficult to work by yourself. And so maybe if I could go through that, and find out who else would be interested in working with me or collaborating with
Sure.
me on a proposal, that would be
Yeah.
a good way to get people
Right.
to.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final course outcome will be a good candidate for your team conference proposal, maybe not for this year, for maybe next year. Next year, I think it's going to be Kansas City. But
I have a question. Do they ever accept a proposal that is more of a qualitative
Mhm.
nature?
Yeah.
Did you?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If that's a well-designed, well-done qualitative study, yes.